Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, Ellie Marzulli. I think you'll find this show, as hopefully you'll find all the shows that we do here, interesting. And we're going to get into some real deep stuff here. We may have to go over to Rumble. We'll wait and see. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Gold has gone mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere, and prices keep climbing. Every day, more and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of it? How do you invest in a way that's safe, simple, and built for the long run? That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Noble Gold specialists are trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident, from wondering what's next to knowing exactly what to do. Whether you're looking to roll over an old 401k into a gold IRA, or you want physical coins and bars delivered right to your home, Noble Gold makes the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You'll get step-by-step guidance, transparent pricing, and U.S.-based service from a team that's handled over $2.5 billion in precious metal transactions. With Noble Gold Investments, protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it's their commitment. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today to claim your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Noble Gold, helping you build a stronger future. Folks, Peggy and I invested in it several years ago. It has gone through the roof, and I don't think it's going to stop yet. Remember, folks, there's always a risk with any type of financial investment. Take a look at what Noble Gold has to offer. Peggy and I did it several years ago. I'm really glad we did. It's hovering right around 4,000. Who knows where this thing is going to go? So, noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. I'm here with actually, I want to thank my editor, Sonda Allison, for queuing up or hooking Weston and I together. And Weston is an inventor. He's a scientist. He's got a different take on what a lot of people in mainstream science and academia have. And that's why he's here. But Weston, thanks so much for coming on the record. Really appreciate it.
Oh, happy to be on your show. I've watched your show for many years, and I'm
thank you.
glad that we got introduced, because I thought, well, a general email, you probably never respond, but we had connections to get us together, and I think this is going to be a phenomenal interview.
Well, I thank you for that, and all glory to Jesus, all glory to the King. But here's the deal: we were talking off camera, and let me just lead up to this. We know from the Bible, it's not specifically stated, but it's inferred that there's going to be in the last days a one world government and a one world religious system, which immediately begs the question, well, how's that ever going to work? But we know with technology that it can work very easily, and like that, if the powers that be get their way. So we're talking about singularity. We're talking about the advent of AI, where I no longer can tell what's real and what's fabricated, which to me is a line of demarcation, a Rubicon, and that's it. I mean, we've never been here before where you can't ascertain what's real and what's fabricated. And then you get, Gates talking about, well, we're just going to have you're not going to need your cell phone anymore because all you have to do, we'll just implant this thing in your body and, that will be your cell phone. So we are in a very brave new world. So my question is twofold. Where do you think this thing is going? And two, does this mean that the return of the King, that Jesus is going to come back soon because you can't fix this anymore?
Yes, I can address both those questions. How much time do we have on the show? Am I able to go back a little bit to explain my history?
Absolutely. We have at least 30 minutes.
Yes. Science background. Okay. So I'm a research scientist, and like many, I was classically trained in your universities worldwide, and it emphasizes atomic theory. Well, for over 20 years, probably close to 25 years or so, I started to realize, I think field theory, which some of the great minds of recent history, I'll rattle off a few, just Charles Steinmetz, Oliver Heaviside, Victor Schauberger, Michael Faraday, the Faraday cage, Nikola Tesla, Buckminster Fuller, more recently, Eric Dollard, individuals like Ken Wheeler. They understand field theory very well. As the more I studied, field theory to me is a more accurate model describing how life works, our reality, our universe, versus atomic theory. So in field theory, it deals with frequencies and interaction with frequencies with the etheric field. And I specialize in cold plasma production and bipolar ionization and the technology I've developed over the years, and patents for whatever that's worth. It takes a lot of money and many years to get patents, and then your patent is only as good as your finances to defend it. But the technology I have works on viruses, bacteria, mold, mildew, contaminants in the air and surfaces. So I'm well known in that field of cold plasma, bipolar ion generation. But as I had studied this, I started to realize how important frequencies and with the etheric field, how they interact. And that's a more accurate model. It also is more in harmony with my background. I have an extensive background in ancient texts and scriptural studies, over 18,000 hours. So that's equivalent of a dual PhD. Wow. If you want to do the numbers. So I've many degrees and sciences and backgrounds in these ancient texts, and I was able to combine the two and understand that there's a thread or a theme that's connected. So always when I give presentations in seminars and conventions, and I had a YouTube channel for many years until it got yanked during the 2021, 2024 period globally. You know what that means.
Yep.
Because if you don't tote the narrative, you get the axe. Yep. So what's interesting is what we're seeing today, and it's really picked up speed since the advent of CERN, and then the roots of the internet from the engineers of CERN from Great Britain and the others that developed that, what now we call the internet, from the 80s through today. It has really accelerated the change that we're seeing in technology and society and behavior. It's all linked together for an agenda, and the scriptures touch on that, as you mentioned in this intro. As far as the time period, it's very grave and serious what's happening to humanity right now, what we're facing, decisions that we have to make, and, if you want to use the term, fulfillment of scriptural prophecies, or a very critical timeline that we're living in. So I can either stop there and have you ask another question, or go into detail as to which of part of the two questions you want me to address first.
Let me jump in. I think you mentioned CERN. I've been to CERN, and why do they have Shiva in the courtyard? Number one. Number two, why would anyone have a blatant occult ceremony to dedicate the whole?
Right.
So, and I'm looking at that going, excuse me, a guy with a goat's head, in the middle of the night, tramping down it's like,
yes,
I'm not buying the official narrative. We were there. We had a guide, a docent, who took us around, and it was just a party line. And I kept throwing questions at him. Well, is it true that there's a possibility of opening up a gateway or a portal? I know nothing about that. And it was denied. But we've got on record the former president of CERN stating that, there's a possibility that something could come through and we can't stop it. Your thoughts on that? Is that just hype, or is it grounded in real science?
Well, since this is our first interview, I'll try to be polite, and I'll be a little more reserved. Usually after the third interview, I let everything loose, and people are never the same. Well, yeah, really, once they get the real truth. And before I answer that, it's very hard. If you were where I am and the other scientists in our group, what we understand, it is very shocking for the general audience. And usually most human consciousness kind of refuses to comprehend what we've come to know because it's too frightful.
I give this a sure.
Yeah, so most people revert back to their safe paradigm, their safe reality. I hate to use the term safe space, but if you try to pop their reality bubble and show them what's really going on, they'll retreat to something very comfortable, and then they immediately go in denial. It's human nature. And I think the power structure is relying on the masses to behave that way. But in our close discussions, CERN, if you talk about a portal, well, a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and social media that have talked about this topic. If CERN were to do that, what they call a hadron collider, trying to find the God particle, I think that's the cover story. Yeah, that's your Wikipedia notes, and that's the funding. I don't think that's at all what the facility's for. If it's portal related and they're successful in the portal, a lot of people say it's to let something in. No, it's to let something out. Actually, to let something out, not let entities in, but let entities out.
So let me ask you a $64,000 question. What entities are we talking about?
Well, if you want to use scriptural references,
Okay.
I'll try to be as neutral as possible, because people get very sensitive when you're dealing with their faith and scriptural understanding. You could have 100 people in a room, they'll fight like cats, and everyone so. And I don't want to act like a know-it-all or discuss my credentials. What good is that? And people don't know me. But if you really know my background, so the scriptures mention that if you mention Christ Jesus, the role, his heavenly role that he's in, one of the roles that he plays in heaven is he's head of the heavenly military. So he's head of this kingdom, and he's pictured on the military, the white horse with the generals, and he has a sword. Anyway, in those series of visions that the Apostle John had, there were glimpses in Daniel, other prophets of the Hebrew text, that talks about a war breaking out in heaven. And then Satan and the demons, which are general categories, if you want to use the term fallen angels or spirit entities in that realm, were cast down to the vicinity of the earth. The text had mentioned the vicinity of the earth, or other translated, within our solar system, however term that you want to use. There's no point in getting too technical in a short interview. But if that's the case, then you have a scenario where entities that are multidimensional and had free access to the heavenly realm, that comes to an end, and they're confined to the vicinity of the earth. So if you have a portal that can allow them to escape and back into the realms that they used to exist and travel, that's why you want a portal, to be able to go back from hence you came, not to be confined here for the future event mentioned as Harmageddon or Armageddon, the English translation.
Right. I've never thought of it that way. That's extremely interesting. In other words, let me just put a cap on this, maybe, that these entities are earthbound and they have no ability to get off Earth anymore. They're stuck here. And so by opening up a gateway or a portal through CERN, and this is all conjecture, they're able to go back into the second heaven. Let me ask you this, since we're on the subject. I know that shamans, take concoctions like ayahuasca, and they are propelled into the second heaven. So they open, somehow they supernaturally, or let me through natural means, open up a supernatural entry point to access the second heaven. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, from field theory, what you're describing is the etheric field. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Some of it's confidential. I don't know what I can say without getting in trouble from our research group.
Just be careful.
Okay. Let's, this isn't exactly correct, but this is the closest human terms to illustrate for your general audience. The best way to describe the etheric field would be, it'd be identified as a liquid material. So the etheric field it's highly dense, but it'd be similar to like maybe black Jello.
Okay.
Remember your mom growing up, your mother maybe having a Jello dessert, maybe there's sliced bananas or something, and you jiggle the Jello. Okay. So the etheric field is a highly energized, multidimensional material, and that's where consciousness, that's where everyone's thoughts and actions and behaviors, everything is stored in the etheric field. All dimensional life. is the etheric field. And the etheric field is energized by the entity mentioned in Isaiah, the Hebrew scriptures in Isaiah, where it talks about the dynamic energy. And that's given a name as the Almighty or the source. A lot of people say source, creator. You can put your favorite expression in there.
El Shaddai.
Yeah. So when there's astral projection or remote viewing or the ayahuasca, what happens is you're able to enter that etheric field, and conscious entities present or individuals in the past who are in a sleep-like state, but their whole life, say from birth, and they passed away at age 60, but they lived 3,000 years ago, that whole experience is recorded. It's in the etheric field. Some people might have the ability, I'm not saying I do, but some people might have the ability to tap into the etheric field and have access to memories of someone who lived 3,000 years ago, male or female, or other entities that aren't carbon-based like we are. And that's what you're describing.
Interesting. Let me ask you this. I mean, we could, and I'm going to have you back on because I can see we're just going to scratch the surface. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I need to read some of your publications so I can really get caught up to speed. And I apologize to my audience for not sort of doing my homework. I've just been slammed. But now that we're kind of breaking ground here, let me have access to some of this stuff so I can really do a deep dive, do my homework, and next time you come on, we can kind of, get into it. I want to ask you something about the whole UFO phenomena, because I know, you touch on this. At least I've heard that you touch on this. So these craft, they come in, they come out, they make right angle turns, they defy our physics in ways that are incomprehensible. They move out of our atmosphere at like accelerated speeds, which again, we have nothing like it. 50 miles in 2 seconds, that would crush a normal human being.
Yeah.
Unless of course they're bending space and time, which is what I think they're doing.
Mhm.
Your thoughts?
Oh, that's a interesting topic. We have our theories as field theories scientists. There's a couple categories. One is you have your defense contractors. So a lot of the objects, if they're special alloys, in certain designs, it's a dead giveaway. That's your military industrial complex.
Sure.
Back engine stuff. Right. And they're very advanced, and it's a separate department than like the United States Air Force, Navy, Marines. So one branch doesn't know the other exists. And that technology is maybe 100, 160 years more advanced than typical aviation or propulsion systems. So from that perspective, it might seem like it's outer planet or a different civilization. It isn't. But then there are some that are not from this source. So they'd be more of the plasma fields. And then they would be able to, they operate under different laws of physics, where you'd mentioned where a normal pilot would be crushed by the G-forces, or the frame structure of the craft couldn't take such dramatic angles or acceleration. That's because these are more of a plasma energy field, and they operate under a different physics. So then that would be the element that's not human. So you can get into debates. There's some of this of demonic origin, like say fallen angels, and then are there still good angels? Oh yeah, there are. So do they have vehicles and technologies? Yes. So you give it depend which ones are the good guys, which ones are the bad guys. A lot of times when there's natural disasters, you'll see the technology used because they're surveying the damage. This isn't human to be from a non-human source, but they're surveying if there was a tsunami, hurricane, major earthquake. So we're definitely, there's more life than just humans on this blue planet called Earth.
Do you think there's life elsewhere in the universe, or do you think this is it? What are your thoughts there?
It depends how you answer that. If you want to use scriptural terms, Earth, this is a home planet for our particular DNA structure.
Right.
If the Genesis account mentions an Adam and an Eve, and a genetic code where there's quotations that let's make man in our image.
Right.
Well, there's a conversation going on there. Then we have a genetic footprint we're carbon-based and we have a genetic footprint through intelligent design. But it's possible that there was other genetic designs,
Else,
right, or before.
yeah, because he's I definitely I think before.
Yeah, before Garden of Eden, because
Yes.
the perspective of Genesis, when Moses put it in paper and ink, those verbal translation from family to family. Prior to that, when he put he used the term pen and pencil. It's a perspective from the Garden of Eden at a particular moment of time when our iteration was made. Let's make man in our image. It doesn't really get into, and maybe it's not important with the message of the scriptures, it didn't get into were there other iterations or other uh, spirit entities that were engineers and had the ability to design genetic and what was outside the Garden of Eden, because there was life
We don't know.
outside. We don't know. The scriptures don't get into that, probably because it's not relevant, and the scriptures want you to concentrate on how do we get back to a perfect condition where we're spiritually in harmony with no sickness, aging, and death. We don't have that now. We lost it. Can we get back to it? So the scriptures tend to focus on that, but not the other players or what happened pre-Garden of Eden or what was outside of the Garden of Eden.
It's it's a good friend of mine, Mondo Gonzalez. He's a co-host of Prophecy Watchers, and Mondo is an amateur astronomer, but he's got great telescopes, and the whole project is called Sun 19. Now, I'm the type of a guy. I mean, I look up, wave, and go about my business. It never really interested in me, but now with Mondo, he sends me all these, the Crab Nebulae, and I just sit there with my jaw on the ground. I had no idea. And no one knows where we are or what this is or how it got here. I mean, nobody knows. A lot of theories, the whole Big Bang thing, but that's just another theory. I think
Right. New theories.
he spoke it into existence. But this is something with all that, everything that's going on in the midst of all this. You got Avi Loeb and Three Eye Atlas, and Avi's downgraded it. But then you got all these other people from the New Agers are saying, no, this is it. We're being contacted. I've got downloaded information, channeled information from the Galactic Federation, and all this. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Atlas?
Well, on so many of the interviews that I've been on other shows and news programs, because you're bringing up a lot of each topic. We could spend an hour on each topic.
I'm aware of that. I know. I had a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, and I had a YouTube show for years that got yanked off the air, and I had over 400 videos that got removed during that 2021. So I got deplatformed and censored very heavily as a scientist.
Wow.
So there's years of material gone. But we have an anomaly in our solar system that's causing geological stresses on the Earth, but all the interior planets especially. It's not talked about in the news. It's an anomaly that most likely caused the conditions of the flood of Noah's day. It looks like it's been affecting the Earth since 2004, approximately 2004. You can't see it with a telescope. It's not a large object. It doesn't have to be with field theory understanding. It's cloaked, or say it's invisible from X-ray, visible light, infrared, radio telescope. Doesn't have any of those signatures, but it's an anomaly emitting a frequency far left of the long wave spectrum of our sun. And it's causing the core has been energized for over 20 years now, since 2004, and it's causing magma displacements. So our predictions have been very spot on as far as increased hurricane, typhoon activities, which are quakes, and landmass tornadoes. We're going to see continents portions of continents will break apart and be below the ocean floor, new land masses arising. There's future Earth maps that you can see on the internet that kind of give guesstimations, but this is real. We're seeing a lot with what's happening with the oceans and the slowing or stalling of ocean currents. The power structure calls this climate change. They used to call it global warming in Al Gore's days. Those are that's a narrative that they're trying to follow and they have motives for that. That's not accurate. If we have climate change, it's not due to SUVs and having air conditioning.
I agree.
we're dealing with solar system harmonics, and this is matching conditions of Noah's day. Well, didn't Jesus mention that in the last days it'd be similar to Noah's day? People not taking any note, eating, drinking, marrying, being given in marriage, and then sudden destruction was upon them. So what happened in Noah's day? You had a handful that were spiritually attuned and survived a global reset. Jesus referred to that Armageddon, the last days of Great Tribulation, Armageddon, a global reset. Do people survive? Yes. The spiritually in tune survive, like Noah and his family. The majority, Jesus said, will not, because they're not taking any heed. Like in Noah's day, they're not taking any note. Well, the Earth and our solar system's been testifying, but everyone's watching sports and what's the Federal Reserve going to do, and how much is gold and Bitcoin. They're stuck in day-to-day material affairs, and they're not connected spiritually, and it's going right over their head.
I agree.
But the Earth is testifying. We're going to see the predictions we have. You won't be able to sleep at night. But that's not to be fearful. If there is fear, it should be fear to where it motivates you spiritually, that you better put that as a high priority and figure out what's going on and how to survive this. Because what's coming, you can't survive by having money, a bunker, stored food, bullets, and silver coins. That in the long term, that's not what it's going to take to survive what's coming. And I've talked for hours and hours and hours on other shows about this. And it creates some interest, but most people think it's very interesting. Then they go right back to their daily life and they forget my interviews.
Well, I just think, prophetically from Scripture, we are in the time of the end. In my opinion, there's no doubt. Those of you who come here on a daily basis, you know where I stand. I don't really need to reiterate it, but I think we're on some kind of countdown. I think we're very close to seeing something very drastic, traumatic, earth-changing, life-changing, and I think we're really close to it. I've been troubled I've said this on other shows, I've been troubled in my spirit for about 3 weeks now. And I can't, I don't know what it is, but I'm just troubled. And I know that sounds a little woo-woo. I get that. But I'm troubled. Not deeply troubled, but troubled. Something is coming. Your thoughts?
Well, we can tell you, and there'll have to be more interviews, but it's your show, whether you want me back or not.
Oh, I do. I can tell already. But I
might get emails saying, who is this guy? Or you might have emails saying, have him on more. There's so much we want to know. But let me tell you that from a scientific standpoint, our group of scientists, we've been monitoring this for decades. We're not Johnny-come-latelys. We're very quiet. And I'm the only one that does the interviews.
Well,
most don't, and I do very few interviews. So this is rare that I'm on your show. But it's all connected. And if you're talking about, not to put words in your mouth, spidey senses, the last 3 weeks, well, yeah, you better have that. And that's good that you have that, because you're picking up more than physical. You're picking up your other senses, the spiritual. If the things aren't right, of course they're not right. Let me tell you that the technologies of the medical industry, because the pharmaceutical industry, real quick, you probably already know this. I'm just repeating this, and your audience probably knows this. This goes back to Pharmakia. The oldest universities on planet Earth are the Egyptian universities of Pharmakia, that we get the pharmacy industry today.
On it.
And remember when Moses and Aaron confronted the Pharaoh?
There you go.
And the magic practicing priests threw down their staffs, turned into a snake, and then Aaron threw his, that scenario?
Yep.
Do you know what those practicing priests were in Egypt?
Well, they were the magicians, but they had all their power.
Yeah, you know what they were? They were pharmacists.
There you go.
They were graduates from the Egyptian School of Pharmacy, the School of Memphis, Tennessee. We can go on, that's a whole nother show. So what they're doing between the pharmaceutical industry and blockchain, tokenization in the blockchain, crypto tokenization, AI and robotics, it's all connected. The gene editing technology, the operating system of the pharmaceutical industry, of nanoparticulates. This is what I do for a living. I know all this stuff. So let me tell you, we're at a critical point. You mentioned earlier in the show. I'm just saying, if Jesus doesn't exist, and if we read about in the scriptures the last days, if that is not true, we're in serious trouble.
Big trouble. I agree.
Humans, because what's being accomplished today, what's being rolled out, mankind can't comprehend the technology and what the real plan is. And if when I tell you, you won't be able to sleep at night, man is not going to fix this because we have non-human intelligence working with certain human agencies for this agenda. If we don't get outside non-human help, like in the heavenly realm, we are doomed as far as our DNA structure and what it means to be a human based on the those days are over. So when is this going to happen? If it doesn't happen, I'm telling you right now, on record, if this doesn't happen in the next 12 to 20 years, humanity as we know it no longer exists. It's complete transhumanism, and mankind has been co-opted by different species.
I agree. And let me just say this, folks, that everything that you say, you're taking from a scientific viewpoint, but I have heard this before from all my studies with UFO whistleblowers and everything else. This is where we're going. You said 10 to 12 years. I shrink that down. I would say 5 to 10 years, max.
Try not to panic your audience.
I know, I get it. But we are on the board.
I'm just trying to be polite.
I get it. Weston, I'm sure you've seen this in the last week. It was all over the internet. Now they have the first AI actress, and she's being hired out. She's getting film roles, and you can't tell. I mean, I saw a clip. You can't tell. I have no idea. But this is where we are. So he's got to come back. You talk about outside help because human beings can't fix this. Let me just weigh in here real quick. Human beings can't fix what's going on. We need the Son of God. We need Jesus to come back with the armies of heaven. It's the only way this thing's ever going to get righted. And we know from Scripture that that's what happens. The question is, how much are we going to see before he returns? I'll give you the last word. Got to have you back. Thank you so much, Weston. And tell the folks how they get a hold of you, please.
The next 6 years, I'll break it down. Next 6 years are going to be extremely stressful to all of us on this planet. We have solar system harmonics because we think what's happening in our solar system, like it did in Noah's day, is controlled. This isn't by accident. Okay? So in Noah's day, those events were controlled by the heavenly realm.
Right.
Let's say the good guys.
Right.
That the same physics are back in our solar system. Why? Well, it fits in with the last days of the scriptures.
Amen.
Look at human behavior. In 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, the breakdown of family,
right,
society,
right.
All the pieces of the puzzle are fitting. Next 6 years, lots going to happen as far as geology of the earth, stresses of the earth, human behavior, people getting more animalistic, more violent. A spiritual community is going to be extremely important. And we can't get away collectively, we can't get away sitting on the fence anymore. You're either going to have to make a spiritual stand and advance spiritually or be a physical person and see how that goes if you just stay in the physical realm. But my company, the website, you could, I don't know if I would give that, but the email is westonscientific@gmail.com. And Weston Scientific is my company name, where we have the technologies I worked on with the cold plasma. We also have technologies that we're not able to research in the United States. We have a prototype of functioning med bed, which would be another interesting, how that works with frequencies and healing organs and when you're dealing with diseases in the body, and structured water. I'm one of the world's experts on energizing structured water. We're able to change the bond angle, the hydrogen, and energize water, and it takes on different physics property. And that's kind of what Jesus did in the scriptures when he altered turning water into wine, walking on water.
Right.
So there's a lot of science behind that. We broke through with technologies, understanding how to manipulate the water molecule. It's phenomenal what we're able to do in my company and our group of research scientists.
Weston, I can't thank you enough. Folks, this is just the first of, I would say, many interviews. It's not often I have a guest that's like this, and you gotta, we'll converse via email, but I need to bone up and do my homework. So when you come back, I can ask you some very poignant and pithy questions, if I can use that verbiage. That's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with another show. Check out the website, lamarzulli.com. 32 films, 14 books. Number 15 is coming up soon. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you again real soon.